What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Model Breakdown. This is a series in which I look at one particular kit in question, be it a squad-based kit, single model-based kit, huge vehicle, doesn't matter. And I break it down, giving you my overall thoughts and opinions, likes and dislikes, and basic information about the particular kit in question. After doing that, I go over my thoughts on building and painting said kit. I haven't done everything, but I've done enough where I can give a basic plan of attack that might make something that feels a little bit overwhelming for a newer painter seem a lot more manageable if they stumble across this video. And then after that, I go over my thoughts on whether or not I think the kit needs to be redone. And regardless of my thoughts on that, what would I like to see done and why if GW was going to redo it tomorrow? So with all that said, the Mechanicum is up on the chopping block this time with probably my favorite kit of theirs from GW, the Castellan Robots. The Castellan Robots are really cool. I'm always a fan of robots, right? So I always like to see them. Mechanicum has a very particular style that is way more stylized from Forge World admittedly, but we get to see it a bit here as well, kind of like a retro futuristic style. This kit is cool because it's two robots and then a Cybernetica Datasmith, which is a whole nother model, completely different. And I do like this kit a lot. The most crazy part of this kit is the Datasmith is very busy, which is one kind of detractor for it. I like it, but it is very busy. I think they could have made it a little bit less busy in terms of stuff going on that model and still have great detail. But it's hardly a complaint worthy enough for being a deal breaker at all. It's just a nitpick. With the robots, the only one thing that's kind of weird is this little dragging type of tendril thing on the foot, like a little cable that drags on the floor that you can put onto the foot. It's a separate bit, so you don't have to at all. I'm not quite sure what it's meant to represent, but if it's some type of sensor or whatever it is, I don't know. It's a weird design choice for me. It doesn't, again, it's not a deal breaker. You don't even have to glue it on there. I'm just more so wondering the why behind it. But outside of that, you can build the robots in either a melee configuration or a ranged configuration, and then you have a carapace mounted weapon option as well, which is cool. Two different type of weapons there. And really just a good looking squad for sure. Now the heads seem like there really isn't much wiggle room for having them pivot or anything, which is fine. It's a robot. We don't really need that. But that is just one thing worth noting. And outside of that, you got your typical symbols, you know, the mechanical symbol and everything there. The robots are, when I say plain, I'm not saying that in a negative way. There's not a lot of ornateness going on here. It really is a nice open canvas for you to have some fun with it for sure. So there is that. The Datasmith, obviously, is a heavily augmented tech priest looking dude, and it is really well done in that regard. There is a head option to show some flesh, like a quarter of the face, to kind of showcase, yes, it is a human being. And I guess they did that because some people like to have the flesh and do the weird kind of half-dead flesh look of the Mechanicum, which is fine. But I really dig the full-on helmeted / augmented look that is the classic look that they show you right away of this Datasmith. I like that you see no flesh at all. It makes it very inhuman with a human form, because you can't tell if that's a helmet, part augmentation. It's very clearly augmented, but how much, right? That's why I really like that head bit specifically. Outside of that, it's a tech priest with its classic robes, but I like that it's still bipedal. When you get to higher ranking tech priest stuff, you look at Call and then another tech priest, you know, Magos type person from Forge World, they go with like a lot of creepy feet, right? Like a lot of insectoid-like legs and whatnot for locomotion or something weird and inhuman. I like that this is still very bipedal. So I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, I think a job well done for this kit. I do thoroughly enjoy it. So when it comes to building and painting this kit up, I feel anyway, the thing that will be the most of a chore, just because there's a lot of detail to go through, is the Datasmith. And not in a negative way as a chore, but just in comparison to the robots, there's a lot more going on with the Datasmith, and it's a smaller package. Definitely want to always stress dry fit, dry fit, dry fit before you glue things together. Get a sense of how it goes together, what might be blocked, because not everybody likes to paint in sub-assemblies. I get that, but I'm a big believer of it, especially if you're trying to get to all the detail you can. And if that's what you're trying to do, then in getting to that, sub-assemblies will be required for that. And when it comes to this tech priesty guy, this cybersmith, this or datasmith, I should say, cybernetica datasmith. There we go. The cybernetica datasmith. When you build it, the chest detail on the front is separate from the robes and everything else. You have to put it all together. I recommend keeping the backpack off, keeping that chest detail off, painting the robes and stuff separate, and painting the chest detail separate, and then gluing together. I also recommend doing the robes before the metallic, because metallic is, in my opinion, typically easier to neaten up, or do neatly and then rebase coat and paint. So the robes, whether it's red or whether you're doing a cream robe or whatever else, whatever the color of the forge in question you're going for is, if you're not doing the typical Mars look, you get to go crazy with it, because neating up to do metallic is very simple. And therefore you can do any dry brushing and washes and everything else without worry. And then do the metallics afterwards and just be neat about it. So that would be my recommendation. And yeah, outside of that, the robots are very straightforward. Again, just dry fit, because maybe you want to build the arm, but leave it separate from the body, paint up as separate and glue it together, whatever. Who knows? Just keep that in mind as a theoretical possibility. Being an open canvas like that, if you want to experiment freehanding some symbols or some weird pattern stuff to be all techy and whatnot, this is a great canvas to do so on these robots. So, having said all that, the Castellan Robot kit with Cybernetica Datasmith, do I think it needs to be redone? Not necessarily. I don't think it needs a redo. But at the same time, if it was to be redone, there are some things I do want to see for sure. But I don't think it's out of a needing to be done, and more so just some ideas for what I would want to see if it was going to be redone. So with that said, if GW was going to redo this kit tomorrow, I would like to see the Cybernetica Datasmith not cleaned up or neatened up, but less cluttered a little bit. That chest detail on the front has a mechandrite arm that sticks out forward, and it's just rather busy on the front of this model, and I think that arm could be somewhere else and it would pay off dividends, right? Or just not be there at all. I get why it's there and what it's meant to do. It just makes this model extra busy. And it's already a pretty busy model with all the tech detail and stuff on there. And it's not a bad thing. But if there's anything to do to improve this guy and keep him more or less like he is, I would say remove that arm, put it somewhere else or whatever. Just to kind of make it less busy everywhere and have a bit more of a simplistic look to it from the beginning, so you can look at it at a passing glance and not feel overwhelmed by the detail there. Not because it's crazy intricate or any detail, but because everything's so busy. So that would be the change I would want to see to the Datasmith. For the robots, really not much at all. Maybe enhanced posability, but it seems the posability based on the bits, the way they look, seems pretty decent. So not really much to complain about or want changed differently there. Now, I 100% get why, if you're going to build the ranged variant or the melee variant, that the arm bits are completely different and not really something you can smash together easily. I get that. I have seen somebody basically have the melee hands but with ranged weapons in the center of it just because it looks super cool. And I get that that's not how the unit works. So ideally, I would love to see the unit be updated to include both the range and melee variant just as a super robot concept, if you will, for the Castellans. And I would love to see the kit reflect that, just because I think having that somewhat Iron Man-esque look of having ranged weapons in the center of the big power fist is just really cool looking. And that's something I would try and do anyway, because I have seen it done and it looks cool. But that is a big change I'd like to see done to the Castellan Robots, is allow the range weapons to be a part of the melee hands just for visual coolness. But I get why it's not like that, because they're two separate options. I get it. But that's just a nitpick, or what I would like to see personally. Outside of that, obviously, if they're going to include more weapon options, showcase it. But that would require, again, updating the unit overall. And we're really just looking at the kit in question. So outside of that, the fact that there's a lot of empty space, if you will, or open canvas space is a way to put it, is great. I don't think that needs to change. If the head is meant to be able to swivel or pivot, and again, maybe it can. I don't really... Looking at it, though, how it goes together, it seems like it doesn't. But if it can, that'd be great. If it can't, that would be great. If it could, right? If it can, awesome. If not, maybe let us have the head tilted, or just pivot like on like a tank turret a little bit, just to give it the ability to be looking somewhere else while marching forward, like it's scanning you and targeting you, and you can tell, and it's kind of intimidating. If I'm gonna be super nitpicky or whatever, or super crazy about it, maybe have the metal faceplate thing be removable for a optional damaged bit. Would be kind of cool too, but that's hardly necessary. Anyways, that's it for my thoughts on whether or not I think it needs a redo. I don't think it does, but if it was going to be redone, that's what I would like to see. So with all that said, what are your thoughts on the Castellan Robot? I really like this kit. I like the robot concepts from the Mechanicum a lot, and Ford does a lot of really cool looking stuff, and GW did a good job with the Castellan Robots for sure. So yeah, what are your thoughts on them? Do you have the kit? Have you built it? What are your thoughts that way as well? And outside of that, share your thoughts, questions, comments, requests for a model breakdown. Of course, all of that can be left in the comment section as well. So thanks very much for sticking through it. And until next time, take it easy.